My name is Julia Sherman, and I wrote a book entitled The Neanderthal-Human Hybrid is Us. And then there's a subtitle, Bipolar Disorder, a Behavioral Fossil. And that's the name of the book. The genesis of this book goes back to the 1990s when I started working on the question of what is the cause of bipolar disorder. I had been asked to review a book called Manic Depression, Manic Depressive Illness by one of the founders of the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. And in the process of reading this book, which was about that thick, I really became fascinated with trying to figure out the cause of bipolar disorder. And actually, it runs in my family. And I worked on this problem consistently over all these years. And I published scientific papers on this. So I have decided to write a book for the general public. And this book is short and clear. And it's an interesting, good read. People are curious about Neanderthal, and a lot of people have an investment in learning more about bipolar disorder and depression because they have problems with it. But in addition to being a readable book, this is a scientific book. This is scientifically sound material. And this is because I was trained as a scientist. I had to integrate material from 3 different disciplines: anthropology or paleoanthropology. This is the Neanderthals. And psychiatry, psychology, and then genetics, psychogenetics, paleogenetics. Integrate this material. This is probably one of the reasons why a book like this has not appeared already, is because it required integration from all these fields. And of course, as I say, it took me a long time to get it all together. But it's not just a matter of learning 3 different disciplines. It was a matter of figuring out what the cause of bipolar disorder is, and that is that we inherited from Neanderthal. What percentage of people in the world have Neanderthal genes? According to Svante Pääbo, who was awarded a Nobel Prize for his research on this topic, the percent of genes runs from 1 to 4% for all peoples who ever went through Europe, where their ancestors encountered Neanderthal. A figure of 2% is often quoted. But that's a lot of people. And 1 to 4% doesn't sound like much, but it can be actually quite influential in a person's life. As our ancient ancestors came out of Africa, and then they came into all these places in Europe, Spain and Italy, and Germany, and even if you're from China, because they went east. So if you're from China and Japan, you've got Neanderthal genes. Not to be self-promotional, but really there's no place where you'll learn more that's really crucial about bipolar disorder than reading this book. The thing is that there are ways to manage bipolar disorder if you understand it. The key factor is the influence of light on behavior. They know that if it's light out, they're happier and they're more awake. If it's dark, they tend to get sleepy and go to sleep. Everybody knows that, but it hasn't sunk in completely. What has happened is that the people with bipolar disorder have an inheritance from Neanderthals, in which when it was dark in the wintertime and the Neanderthals couldn't eat, They just slept through the winters, what we quasi-hibernation state. Those genes got passed on. Now we have food through the winter. We don't need to hibernate. But some of us are still hibernating when it comes winter time. So the way out of that is not antidepressant pills, which are dangerous and do not work, but the way out of that is bright light treatment and chronotherapies. Okay, so that takes care of the depression part of it. But in the summertime, then people with these genes become more active and so on. And in emergency situations, sometimes they get overboard and overreactive and manic. And again, the effect of light is so important and so not understood. It was understood by some scientists like Tom Ware at NIMH many years ago. He discovered you take somebody who's manic and you put them in the dark, and after some while in the dark, might be quite a while, a couple days more, they calm down and they didn't get any drugs. And those drugs for bipolar disorder and mania, boy, they're pretty tough on the body. They should read my book. Remember, the title is The Neanderthal-Human Hybrid is Us, Bipolar Disorder, a Behavioral Fossil. Yeah, check it out.